Am I the a-hole for not giving my ex-girlfriend money I promised her? I had been dating Sam, female 31, for 2 years, and she had a problem with her car. I was getting money as a bonus, and I told her that she should get her car fixed, and I would gift her the money to pay off her credit card instead of giving her a Christmas or birthday gift this year. She got her car fixed, but then broke up with me about a month ago. Don't know why and don't really care. I thought we were doing well, but I guess not. She contacted me to see if I had gotten the money and when I would be sending it. I told her I had no plans in sending her money, and she said I was an a-hole for letting her put herself in debt if I had no plans to actually live up to my promise. I think that the situation has changed. I was planning on giving her the money, and she would have been screwed without a car. She needs it for work and to drive her kid around. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Actions have consequences. Breaking up means not getting the partner treatment anymore. The money was clearly meant to be contingent on being your partner. Not partner anymore, no money. I would say that you would be crazy to still give her the money. Not the a-hole. Absolutely do not give this person money. Block and move on, and don't allow yourself to get manipulated or persuaded. Not the a-hole. It's perfectly normal to lend money to a significant other. Once that relationship ends, you no longer owe them anything. She is gaslighting you, so you will give her money. She's an adult. Figure it out. Paying credit cards in for your car to be fixed is what adults do. This doesn't feel like a loan here. It was the promise of a gift. So yeah, not the a-hole. If it was a loan, I would feel different. Like, what if she paid up front to fix his car with the expectation that he would pay her back, not as any gift stipulation? She knew she was going to dump you and still accepted a gift. If you were doing something inappropriate and got caught, then yes, you should. But no, don't help her. If she just dumped you out of the blue, she either had it planned out for a while or has been going behind your back with someone new. Block her and everything. If you get bothered by her friends, say she took the offer when she was seeing someone behind my back or had it planned before she took the offer. Lord, I wish I had the confidence and audacity of this woman. What is she going to do? Withhold intimacy or break up with you if you don't pay? My God, not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing my brother an end of alimony party? My older brother and his ex had a rocky marriage before they finally divorced. To be honest, there were enough faults in both of their parts, so no one can claim the high ground. But because his income was several times of hers, the court awarded her alimony. Thankfully, they were married for less than 10 years, so he only had to pay her alimony for half of the years they were married. His last payment to her will happen this month, so the guys and I are planning an end of alimony party for him. We're planning a week-long stay in Vegas at the Wynn, and we'll chip in to fully cover his end. Because we're planning to go at the end of the month, and there are about a dozen guys going, we've been texting and talking to coordinate the trip. When the trip was first planned, I told my girlfriend, and she wasn't happy about it. She wasn't mad that we're having a guys trip, because we've taken separate vacations before without any issues. She wasn't happy with the theme, and said that it was in bad taste. I disagree, and we had discussions about it until we agreed to disagree. On Friday, she was using my phone to watch her shows, and one of the guys sent a picture he designed for a shirt we're planning to have made for him to wear. The gist of the design is that he's free of alimony payments and can afford to eat again with some graphics. It was in a group text, and the other guys texted their robust approval. This sent my girlfriend into a rage I've never seen before. We got into a huge argument that lasted all weekend. We even had to cancel dinner plans we had with some friends. I thought our argument was coming to an end, but this morning while we were getting ready for work, she gave me the silent treatment and completely ignored my questions. Basically, she wants me to cancel the trip and admit that we're being terrible people for celebrating something so painful. I don't want to cancel the trip, and my brother is excitedly looking forward to the end of his payments, so I don't see any pain. I honestly don't know why she's so mad, because none of this have anything to do with her. She doesn't even know the ex, since they divorced before we even met. Not the a-hole, but I hope you remember to sign a prenup before you marry this one, and don't let her be a stay-at-home anything. Don't rely on her birth control. If a guy doesn't want children, there are birth control methods that a man can use. If she gets pregnant and he didn't use them, it's on him. Female birth control is only 90 to 94% reliable at the best of times. Never ever rely on someone else to prevent children you don't want. Not the a-hole, but this is showing some pretty big red flags. Sounds like she's upset that you wouldn't be open to paying her when you guys get divorced. She can't claim girl code because this happened before she was even around and it has nothing to do with her. Enjoy your trip and reconsider your relationship. Not the a-hole. The last months of the marriage were painful. The divorce was painful. Having to pay money every month to someone who hurt you and who you'd rather just forget entirely was painful. This is not painful. This is him finally being free from that part of his past, which will allow him to fully heal and move on. The only person this might be painful for is his ex, who has benefited from that money and has continued paying for the last 5 years. I could maybe see where she's coming from if the party theme was being rid/free of ex as a person. Like good riddance to Mandy, or whatever her name is, because that would be a personal attack. But just being free of having to shell out money every month? There is nothing wrong with that at all. The fact that your girlfriend thinks it's bad says a lot about her character and intent, and what it says isn't good. Red flag alert. Do not marry this woman, OP. From a woman. Next story. Am I the a-hole for denying my son's father phone calls after 8 years of no contact? Okay, backstory. I got pregnant at 17 and my son's father was out from the jump. He was not interested in being involved in our son's life at all. When my son was 3, I started dating my now husband. My son calls him dad but knows he's not his real dad. When my son was 5, I got served papers from Biodad taking me to court for visitation. During court, the judge charged him with 1 count of child abandonment, but did approve of visits, starting in a therapist's office doing what's called reunification therapy. After 2 months of that, they got to have 4-hour weekly visits in the county I live in. The father lives 3 hours away. Anyway, after 4 visits expanded over 3 months, the dad called me and said he was moving across the country. He stated that he is never coming back to my state, but wanted to keep in touch. I would send a few pictures and updates, but eventually stopped after he wouldn't respond. One day I got a text from him telling me I should just have my husband adopt my son so he wouldn't have to pay child support. It's been 8 years since he's moved across the country, but he has never asked about our son until 2 days ago. He texted me and asked when would it be a good time to talk to our son. I texted back and said that he would need to petition the courts for a new parenting plan if he's really serious about it, and he said I'm being difficult. Our son is 13 years old now. That would be extremely awkward to start phone calls after this many years, and especially since his dad ditched him after 6 months of meeting him the first time. Am I the a-hole for saying no? Edit with more info. No, my husband didn't adopt my son. Mostly because he is already his dad in every single way. And since sperm donor moved so far away, I figured why not collect the a-hole tax, child support. Yes, sperm donor pays monthly support. He and his new wife have actually reached out multiple times with the "let your husband adopt him" comment, but then claim that I am the one that's only about money. I do think that this could be linked to the new wife's pressures. She lost her 25-year-old brother to COVID last year, so maybe she's realizing how important family is. Another thing, my son has IDD, so he doesn't act as a normal 13-year-old. Probably more like a 10-year-old. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. To your son, he is essentially a stranger. Your husband is his father. Husband is his real dad. The other man is just biological. Please find a therapist that specializes in your situation. Your son deserves a plan that makes him a priority. OP has done well thus far, but she needs unbiased help. All this back and forth when it suits him won't be good for your kid, and I'd be explaining this to a judge. Not the a-hole. You're protecting your child. Be extremely vigilant and paranoid about why your ex suddenly wants to talk. He may just want to manipulate your son. Probably needs a kidney. Also common when there is a new girlfriend in the mix, and he doesn't want to look like the deadbeat dad he is. Not the a-hole. This is so similar to the one earlier this week. For some reason, the absent parent needs to show or have a contact with a child. I'd say no and be suspicious. Sometimes people just don't care about or have the patience for small children, but think they can jump right in when the hardest work has been done and the child is old enough to be interesting to them. Or he has a new girlfriend who has been questioning his lack of involvement and he wants to look good to her. Either way, he's a waste of space. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband my life plans after he passes does not include any reliance on his children? My husband, 62 male, has 2 children from his previous marriage that I, 48 female, met in their early adolescence. Both children have good relationship with their parents, with the typical rockiness that comes with the teen years. Both are in their 20s now, working on their degrees, and overall doing well. My relationship with both of them have been cordial and emotionally disconnected, in large part because I never felt like I was allowed to be a stepmother. I was expected by both parents to be their friend. As an adult in her 30s, I was simply not comfortable being friends with two children under the age of 13. I tried to be as open to talking with them, showing them affection, taking them places, doing interesting things with them, and trying to engage with them on their level. But my hands were always tied whenever their behavior needed correction, and more than once led to getting steamrolled for enforcing rules that I personally live by, like telling his daughter to not hit her brother. I often felt like I was a stranger in my own house when things got out of control. Nevertheless, I got through it, and they're adults now, and for the most part, all is well. But while my husband has children, I wasn't able to have kids, despite desperately wanting to have one. Those facts means that my reality requires me to be as prepared as I can, because I will be alone if he dies before me. While explaining this to him, in the broader context of why I was investing the way I have been, he got his feelings hurt, thinking that I should assume his kids will take care of me. They already have a mother they may have to take care of, and I would hope that if I need help taking care of my husband, that they would help as well. But I have no illusions that such a sense of offspring duty or obligation would be extended to me. But he thinks that I'm insulting his children as being unfeeling or callous. To be perfectly fair, if they didn't lift a finger for me, I really wouldn't attribute it to being unfeeling or callous, only that they genuinely have no real obligation to take care of me. What's worse is he wants to talk to his kids about this and put them into that ugly position of insisting that they would take care of me to make him happy, or being honest and say they wouldn't and deal with him being disappointed. He's irritated and hurt, and I feel like I'm an a-hole for trying to make sure I am not screwed if I'm unlucky enough to hit 80 and be all alone. Not the a-hole. It's wise to plan for your future, ignoring your relationship or lack thereof with his kids. They aren't responsible for caring for parents in their old age. Point out to your husband that if at any point he needs help, they don't have to, morally or legally. You are responsible. I'm not sure why he got upset. He decided the parameters of your relationship with his stepkids. Explain this and that you don't want it raised with his kids because he ensured they weren't yours. Thank you. I think his sense of hurt is because he thinks I have a low opinion of his children, that I don't see his children as particularly generous of wallet or spirit. I really don't think less of them. Perhaps he's upset because it indicates that I never thought more of them. While I agree that children really have no legal obligation, we may quibble over the moral element mostly because I reject rule-by-thumb morality. At the end of the day, in my case, I really don't think they have a moral or legal obligation to take care of me at all. And he's interpreting this has me thinking poorly of them. Him not listening to you or just misinterpreting your response? You probably need to clarify this before it festers. Would reading your post upset him? It's very lucid, concise, and has no bitterness or malice. That's very kind of you. I may share it with him. Sometimes reading things are taken differently than hearing it. Why does it bother him that you are investing in being financially wise? Aside from his choosing to be offended by your not assuming his kids will take care of you, why is your fiscal responsibility even questioned? Any chance he would prefer you spend the money you invest? He could assure you that he will take care of you with his investments and insurance if it predeceases you. So why isn't he reassuring you by telling you that in detail? Guessing he will leave everything to his kids, and you assuming he will do that and that his kids won't help you is embarrassing to him, because he knows it is valid. If he dies before you, what financial measures are in place to care for you? Worst case scenario for OP is that husband talks to his kids, and they tell him whatever he wants to hear, even though it's not true, so he leaves all his assets to his kids. He thinks they'll take care of OP. They don't. She's up a creek. She needs to insist on some insurance policies where she's the beneficiary at minimum. His social security? What about their home? Will she inherit his half? Is she even on a deed? I really appreciate the concern here. In a way, I hear my late father's voice as these are the kind of ideas he would bring up. The house is in my name alone. I bought it before we married. I've been aggressively saving my own retirement accounts, and I'm okay given my current age and my own planned retirement. I'm a sole beneficiary with his life insurance policy. I know his retirement funds are split 3 beneficiaries, me and the kids. He is the kind of man who would want to make sure that all of us have something to help with the expense of his passing and that the kids have a little buffer in life.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to stand up for my girlfriend when I felt she purposely started drama with my mother by bringing a cake to a birthday party? I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years and we are talking about getting engaged soon. I love her wholeheartedly and would choose her over my mom in a heartbeat. They don't get along at all, so it's come up plenty of times and I think I have done a good job of siding with my girlfriend. They just flat out don't like each other, but they also seem to have some rivalry going on. My girlfriend has confided in me that she feels like she can't win. They're both guilty of being competitive, but she feels my mom has a lot of stuff over her. I of course don't agree, but it bothers her. My mom is a really good cook, but her baking is just okay. She can't decorate the cakes at all, and my girlfriend recently discovered this. My mom's fiance had a birthday and he wanted a banana cake with honey cream cheese frosting. My mom made it and it wasn't great looking. Tasted good though. My girlfriend made the same cake but decorated it beautifully and decided to bring it to the party. It was a work of art, but I told her she was just trying to steer crap and I didn't want her to bring it. She decided to bring it anyway and I didn't stop her. When we got there, my mom saw her cake and didn't look happy but didn't say anything. My mom's fiance just flat out refused to touch my girlfriend's cake. I think he told other guests to do the same because no one would eat it. I took a big piece and praised it, but she was clearly upset. She went over and tried to pressure him to eat it, and honestly, he was pretty rude. He told her he sees through her. He isn't going to touch her cake. But if it makes her feel better because she found one thing she is good at, to take the win. He thanked my mom for his cake, kissed her, and then told my girlfriend she was bothering him and to get out of his face. I didn't do anything in that moment. She later asked me to talk to him and I declined. I said she brought the cake to steer drama, so I think his reaction was okay. She teared up a bit and said he was really mean and I need to say something. I still refused. And when we left, I said goodbye, thanked them for inviting us, and was just normal. She accused me of being spineless and still upset. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend was way out of line. And I don't care how rude mom's fiance was to her. He was just exactly perfect in what he did for his love. Your girlfriend does not deserve a win for trying to one-up your mom at her fiance's birthday. She's gross, and I have some ideas about why your mom doesn't like her. Yes, I mean the girlfriend is a massive rude a-hole here. But this is outrageous. Trying to upstage the birthday boy's fiancé, as in the hostess, by bringing in a fancier version of the cake and even trying to pressure people into eating it, and then acting like she's got any right to feel hurt because people were mean, as in called her out on her outrageous nonsense, instead of embarrassed and mortified because what the heck was she thinking? Not today, Holopi, but your girlfriend is not right in the head. This goes beyond just being competitive. She was being mind-bogglingly rude and out of line. And it's a giant marinara flag that she doesn't acknowledge just how badly she screwed up and how rude she was. It's unhealthy for her to be so obsessed with winning that she's willing to cause scenes and ruin celebrations with this type of intentional hatery. It won't even apologize, but will instead get mad at people for not supporting her insane upstaging antics. Edit: the fiancé probably didn't even need to ask the other guests to not eat your girlfriend's cake. Because anyone with any understanding of basic manners and decency would not want to offend the hosts by going along with such a rude stunt. Seriously, OP, you need to think if you're willing to lose your mom over your girlfriend, because she seems hell-bent on destroying any relationship or goodwill between them. This is a ridiculous level of crap steering. Kudos to your mom and her fiancé for handling it so well. Not the a-hole. This platform loves to dump on mother/father-in-laws and difficult parents. But maybe it's time to have a long, hard look at if your mother's reasons for not liking your girlfriend are valid. If this was your birthday, maybe I'd understand a little more. But your girlfriend tried to upstage your mother at her fiancé's birthday and handled it like a pro. I wouldn't put it past your girlfriend to turn up to your mother's wedding wearing white. This feud isn't going to go away, so before you propose, have a think about if you're really willing to lose your mother over your girlfriend. Because after her little stunt, I wouldn't be surprised if they chose to go low/no contact. Yep, this post is a definite win for the mother-in-law column, both in terms of who was in the right and who won battles of the cakes. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving a wedding early because I felt my boyfriend was ignoring me? My boyfriend, 28 male, and I, 26 female, have been dating for almost 4 years. This past weekend, we attended a wedding for one of his close friends. My boyfriend was a groomsman, It was a pretty big wedding, about 200 people. I have social anxiety and don't do well in big crowds, especially when I don't know a lot of people there and don't really have a comfort zone. I did know a fair amount of people at this wedding, but they are mostly my boyfriend's friends and family, not really close friends of my own. Since my boyfriend was a groomsman and had all the duties that go along with that, we weren't together for most of the day. He had to go to the venue a lot earlier than I did. I wasn't going to just sit around the venue waiting for the ceremony to start, so I hung out at our hotel. I did talk to him for a few minutes before the ceremony, but after that, I barely saw him the entire night. The wedding party was seated at a separate table for the reception, so I was seated with other significant others that weren't at the wedding party. I knew a couple of them, but we aren't close. By the time dinner was served, my anxiety was already spiking. I was able to talk with my boyfriend again after dinner, but he kept getting pulled away by the groom and other friends to go dance or play a game they set up. I felt like my boyfriend was ignoring me and I was already at my social limit, so I found him and told him I was leaving. He tried to convince me to stay and celebrate with everyone and to get out on the dance floor with him, but I refused. I don't like dancing. It's just not my thing. So I left and went back to our hotel. I waited up for my boyfriend to get back because he wasn't responding to my texts. He didn't get back to our room until 3 a.m. Apparently, his phone died during the night and some of the guys went out to a bar after the reception. When he got back, I was angry. I told him I was worried about him because I couldn't get a hold of him. He said that wouldn't have been a problem if I had just stuck around and had fun. I told him I felt like he was ignoring me the entire time. He said he was a groomsman in a close friend's wedding. He had things he had to do. He said he had tried to get me to stay and dance and have fun, but it was clear to him that I had already made up my mind to leave. I told him I felt like an afterthought to him the entire day. He said I need to get over myself, because this was his friend's wedding and he was there to support and celebrate his friend's new marriage, not to babysit me the entire time. He told me he was disappointed that I couldn't even hang around for one night to celebrate, and that I made a decision to leave on my own, so I can't blame him for anything. I'm still upset about it a week later, and he's refused to apologize or accept any responsibility for why I left. Like, I understand he has things he had to do as a groomsman, but I felt like he has put zero effort into making sure I was comfortable. You're the a-hole. He's right. His duties that day were to the groom. That is what a groomsman is. Are you always this exhausting? Or just when he dares to focus on someone that's not you? Man, this was spot on with what I was thinking. Like, baby girl, it's not always about you, lol. You're the a-hole. OP. How do I make every single day about myself? Right? Lol. And then want that man to apologize. OP needs to recognize that it's okay and actually healthy to spend time apart from their partner. It was perfectly fine for her to go back to the hotel. It was perfectly fine for him to stay and party with a wedding party and his friends. It's not okay for her to be mad that they both did what they wanted to do. OP, you sound controlling and insecure. You are blaming your boyfriend and your anxiety for your discomfort. But it sounds like even though you knew some other people there, you didn't make any attempts to enjoy yourself. Everything you described sounds par for the course for a wedding where one partner is in the wedding party and the other is not. It's up to you to navigate the setting and figure out how to handle it. Does it kinda suck not to see your partner so much? Yes, sure. But it was one night, and he had obligations that you were aware of. You staying up to overthink the situation and get angry about it makes you the a-hole. You should have just gone to bed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my in-laws the same questions they ask me? I, female 30, got engaged to my fiancé a month ago. My in-laws, especially mother-in-law, are the type of people that ask a lot of questions. Personal questions at that. Their questions tend to be hurtful sometimes, but I try not to get easily offended and mistake it personal. But those questions are getting out of control. Instead of lashing out and being rude, I've decided to answer these questions by turning it back on my in-laws and asking them the same questions they ask me. For example, whenever my fiancé and I are visiting, my sister-in-law would ask, "Hey, when are you going to lose those pounds?" I go, "When are you going to lose those pounds? You've put up a lot of weight recently," while pointing at her eyes wide open. She would then get easily offended. Father-in-law would ask, "When are you going to get your own house?" I go, "When are you going to get your own house? Aren't you 73 and still paying rent for your house?" They live in a rental house. He gets highly offended. Brother-in-law would ask, "When are you going to get married?" I go, when are you going to get married? You don't even have a girlfriend yet. They've obviously picked up on my vibe, but the blow-up occurred last night when my fiancé and I were at their house for dinner. Mother-in-law looked at me while I was eating and went on about kids and grandchildren. She then asked, when are you going to start giving us babies? My fiancé looked at me with an oh boy type of way. I felt no hesitation. I looked at her and said, when are you going to start giving us babies? That's what I want to know. The table went quiet, though some family members laughed. Mother-in-law and her daughter and husband made all types of angry faces. Then dinner was over. I got scolded by my fiancé on the way home, telling me I was being rude with the way I talk back and respond to his family's innocent questions. Yeah, questions they've already asked 1,000,000 times before. Hard eye roll, but whatever. We got into an argument and he then looked at me and said, why are you being hostile? I said, why are you being hostile, getting in my face and yelling? He yelled at me again, saying I'm driving him crazy and called me childish and immature, then stormed off to the bathroom. Am I the a-hole really? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. This is hilarious. Your in-laws are being rude, and at this point should be able to predict how you'll answer these questions. Does your fiancé really not think they're being invasive? Maybe talk about this before you get married. She doesn't have a family problem. She has a fiancé problem. The fiancé isn't backing her, and they should go to counseling or not get married. A united front is needed. Not the a-hole. Are you sure you're excited to become a part of this family? They kinda treat you like crap, and your fiancé doesn't have your back. Is this really how you want to live the rest of your life? Can you imagine how awful they will be if you decide to have children? I can hear sister-in-law now. When are you gonna lose the baby weight? After dating someone with an absolutely batshit mother many years ago, I swore I would never marry into that crap. Then I dated someone years later with another crazy family. We broke up when I realized it. By chance, I am friends with the latter ex's wife, so I've been able to hear how it's going. Not well. Not well at all. It just isn't worth it to me to knowingly walk into enemy territory by way of marriage. I'm lucky enough to have in-laws who treat me as their own child, and a husband that has my back in every situation. I feel like this behavior of monster-in-law has been normalized and expected. Some people fall for the trap and lead long miserable lives. I hope Opie jumps off this sinking ship. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for being ungrateful to my parents offering to pay for my wedding? My wedding is next year, and my parents have offered to pay some part of the cost. I am 27 male and my fiancé is 25 female. Due to tradition, my mom has offered to pay for my fiancé's wedding dress. They've also offered to pay part of the reception costs. At first, both my fiancé and I were very grateful for their offer. But after we started wedding planning, we realized it was wrong accepting their help in the first place, since they want to have the first and the last word on everything, and barely leave us make our own decisions because we are paying too, so we are having it our way. The thing is, they're not the only ones paying. We do too, and it's our wedding after all, yet they won't let us have any input. Whenever we suggest anything different than what they like, they threaten to pull away their contribution unless we do as they say. When my fiancé started going wedding dress shopping, my mom is mad that my fiancé wouldn't pick a vintage second-hand wedding dress and wanted a new one. When I told her she's the one who'll wear the dress, so she's the only one who has a say in what kind of dress she'll get, my mom said, I'm paying for that thing, so no, she's not the only one who decides. For the reception, they wanted us to cut down our guest list so they could invite more of their friends. Again, their argument was, we are paying, so either you do as we say or we pull away the money. My fiancé and I even tried to compromise with them, yet they didn't accept any alternative they were not fond of. After 1 month and a half of wedding planning, my fiancé snapped and said she'd rather get married and have a reception at Burger King than have my parents dictate our entire wedding using their money as a means to control us. And she was right. I told my parents to keep their money and how we don't want their contribution if it comes with so many terms and conditions. My parents called me and my fiancé ungrateful for rejecting their offer, and how we're a spoiled couple. I told them that I'd rather be ungrateful then, but how I don't appreciate the fact that they only offered to pay in order to have full control. They should pay because they wanted to help us out from the bottom of their heart, not to have us as pawns. My mom and dad have since exposed our business to many relatives, and now everyone says how ungrateful we are, and how only someone spoiled and an a-hole would reject an offer like that and not accept to make some sacrifices. Not the a-hole. Helping people doesn't entitle you to be awful to them, and more people need to realize it. The parents have exposed their own version to the rest of the family. I bet if they informed them that the mother tried to impose her own dress choice onto the bride, opinions would soon change. Additionally, why/how are they calling them spoiled when they are refusing their financial help? Spoiled would be them requesting the parents to pay for everything and giving them some kind of messed up consequence akin to, "We'll pool our money." Like they won't be invited if they don't give money. Or if the parents weren't financially sound and the couple was demanding money or threatening no contact or some crap. In other words, the parents are projecting. They are the ones being selfish and spoiled while putting the blame of that on the couple. Classic markers for narcissistic personality disorder actually. Wonder if that's what Opie and fiancé are up against. If so, be prepared for this behavior to never end and ramp way the heck up if they have kids. Husband will need a strong backbone and even stronger boundaries if that's the case. Not stay home. They kept threatening to pull the funding. All you really had to say was, the 6th time you threatened to pull funding because we didn't want to do something your way, we got the message that you didn't want to contribute. This way you don't have to stress about any of the details and can just enjoy it as guests. At first, we really thought they wanted to contribute with good intentions because they really wanted to help us. For example, my fiancé's parents contributed and got us our wedding bands. They didn't care what we got. They offered us a budget and told us to either get something within that budget, or they'll offer that budget they have and we can feel the difference in price if we like something more expensive. They didn't even care to know what kind of rings we chose as long as we were happy. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend that we cannot afford for me to be her sugar daddy? My male 27, girlfriend 23 is absolutely beautiful. And most of her friends are also physically attractive women as well, and they like to party with rich men they meet. My girlfriend and I have been together for a couple of years. I make a decent living, but I'm not NBA rich. I don't have a trust fund. I'm not a tech millionaire. I just make a very good salary and bonuses. Enough to have paid for a good portion of my house and to have graduated without debt. I want to retire young enough to enjoy my life, so I invest and save most of my money. Not all. I'm still enjoying my life now. I'm even taking us to all-inclusive in Jamaica for the New Year's. But she's jealous of her friends. They get lavish gifts, and they go out for dinner all the time. She loves me, and we have plans for the future, but she keeps bringing up all the things her friends get from their male admirers. I finally snapped and said that I could not afford to be a sugar daddy. She said her friends aren't like that, so I pointed out that they literally do not make enough money to support the lifestyle they have. I pointed out that one of them drives a $1,000 Lexus, and she works part-time at a restaurant as a hostess. She says that I'm calling her friends workers, which I would not do, and judging them. So I asked her to explain how her friends afford dinner out at very expensive restaurants, while earning minimum wage in some cases. So now she thinks I'm an a-hole for making what I feel are apt observations. She asked if I consider her that way, because I pay for everything and earn 6 times what she does. I told her no, that I'm proud to have a teacher for a girlfriend, but she is still sulking. Now for the top comments. You have 2 choices. Sit down with her and have an adult conversation that although she may be jealous of all the gifts her friends get, you do not/cannot get her all those same things. If you're paying for most of the luxury/bills whatever, you get a big say in what luxuries are enjoyed. Or you can end a relationship. She sounds a bit immature. Not the a-hole. I was thinking she sounds naive. Yeah, or not. It's hard to say based on this post how transactional their relationship really is. But I thought it was odd that the first thing Opie did was say how beautiful she was. Not the a-hole. But if she is all about appearances and having nicer things, please know that she will ditch you when the person who can afford those things comes along. Exactly this. She is young and probably has a very shallow definition of love. Perhaps. Or maybe she does love Opie, but that doesn't mean that she'll ever stop being jealous of her friends and their rich men. I think Opie needs to realize that this is something he'll likely have to put up with, as long as they're in a relationship. If she loves Opie, then she would stop with the comparisons. She has to learn to be happy with where she is and what she has. If not, the jealousy will begin to override everything else, because she will want to either push Opie to do more or find someone else to keep up. It's unhealthy. Not the a-hole. She's young and foolish. She's equating material things with someone caring about her. Her friends might not be sex workers, but they are definitely trading something that requires no effort for getting boons in life. They are what the nice guys and incels always complain about. They are who give the rest of us a bad name. I have no sympathy for them at all. Their looks will fade, and if they don't have an education or career, their 100K Lexus as sugar daddy present days will be a thing of the past. Your girlfriend needs to grow up. There's nothing to be jealous of. If she wants expensive things, she needs to shuck her little buns and work for them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my best friend her grandfather is planning to disinherit her? I found out my boyfriend's grandfather is planning to leave him everything and disinherit everybody else after he answered a phone call from his grandfather while I was laying on him. I asked him about it once he got off the phone, and he explained what was going on, but told me not to mention it to anybody else as his grandfather didn't want them to know yet. Her sister is my best friend, and I don't keep secrets from her, which he knows. She's relying on some money her grandfather promised to give her, and I didn't feel right not saying anything to her, so I told her what I knew. She told everyone else, and now their family's fighting and arguing over this. Their grandfather is blaming me and wants my boyfriend to leave me because he said I'm a troublemaker. My boyfriend is also angry at me because now his sister is refusing to speak to him or let him explain. Am I the a-hole? Info. Why is the grandfather doing that? But with the current info, you're the a-hole. Boyfriend told you not to tell anyone, and likely wouldn't have even told you had you not been next to him while he was on the phone. My boyfriend is his favorite grandchild, and because he thinks the rest of them are disappointments in comparison. They sure do sound like a disappointment if they are depending on the inheritance to plan their future. The only reason my best friend was relying on the inheritance is because her grandfather told her himself what he was going to leave her, and that he would make sure she was taken care of so she wouldn't worry. Now that she knows it was a lie, she's making different choices to make sure she'll be okay without his help. You're the a-hole. Don't insert yourself into other people's business. Don't lie and pretend you won't say anything when you were planning on saying something. Your boyfriend should leave you. You chose your best friend over your boyfriend, OP. Your choice to make. But if I were the boyfriend, I'd probably leave you over it, knowing I'd always be second priority to my sister. I get why you did it. Just laying out the implication here for you. Hopefully this isn't a very serious relationship. You're the a-hole. You were told by someone you presumably love and respect to keep a secret and just cause trouble. This was family business. None of your business to get involved. Exactly this. You were asked to keep a secret and failed miserably. You have now caused unnecessary family drama. But more than that, trust is the foundation of a good relationship. And now you have shattered it by blabbing news that was not yours to share. You know the saying, when a person shows you who they are, believe them. You have shown your character or lack thereof, and your boyfriend and his grandfather are left to believe you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not taking the option of working from home? I work for a tech company while my husband is an aspiring author. He has had some success, and we hope for more in the future. When I got pregnant, I negotiated a full year of maternity leave with my employer. I would not lose seniority or miss out of certain aspects of profit sharing. I'm sorry for being vague, but I know many of our employees are in Reddit, so I'm going to fudge some information. In return for the accommodation I made with my employer, I got a month of completely uninterrupted time with my new baby. Then I started taking on tasks from home on my own schedule. On average, it was 15 hours or so a week. My husband writes at home, so we decided that he would be the stay-at-home parent. And when I was working, he would care for our baby. It was a pretty good arrangement, I thought. And it was for about a month. Then he would start ignoring the baby crying or claiming that the baby wanted me. That sort of thing. It started to interfere with my deal with my boss. I told him in no uncertain terms that if he kept interrupting me while I was working, I would hire a nanny for help, but take the funds out of our fund budget. The budget that pays for dinners out, vacations, and hobbies. He got a point, and I got my 1 to 2 hours of uninterrupted time every day. Until recently. It is almost time for me to return to work full-time. Once again, my employer was very accommodating. They were very impressed with my ability to contribute meaningfully to my group during my maternity leave. So, they offered me a choice of work from home, work in the office, or a hybrid schedule. I discussed it with my husband, and he said that I should choose to work from home so I could help more with the baby. I chose to return to the office instead. I have access to a private room and a freezer so I can store milk. I'm able to interact with my team and I enjoy the environment. My husband is saying that I'm being cruel and that my baby needs me. I said I would work from home if he got a job to pay for the nanny so it didn't affect our budget. He said it didn't make sense. I almost said no, Sherlock. He wants me to be the main breadwinner while he tries to get published. He wants to enjoy life in an expensive city and he wants to stay home to write. Some of these desires are mutually exclusive without him stepping up and giving me time and space to earn a living. We just saw his family for Thanksgiving and he was complaining to his mom about me choosing to leave him at home with the baby and returning to work. She started in on me for my choice. I was embarrassed until his dad spoke up and reminded her that when my husband was born, she was a stay-at-home mom and housewife. He said that was what my husband signed up for if he didn't want a job. It just became a big argument. Now we are home and I feel bad and he says that he feels emasculated. So we are arguing. I feel like an a-hole abandoning him and our baby. And his mom thinks I am. Edit. When I say he has had success, I mean it. He wrote a novel that he self-published. It was optioned for a movie. It was a lot of money to us at a time. But after the agent and lawyers took their shares, there was a lot less. And the movie never got made. So there was no more money or publicity for his writing there. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You have given him options. He is the one making it difficult for you to continue funding your home. I have tried explaining that to him. My feeling is that if he'd like to be part of a household in which he contributes nothing of value, he can move back in with his folks. The important part is, tries to get published. I have a friend who is a writer and it is her job, yet she has to take care of the kids while her husband works in an office. It's a lot, and she struggles to make deadlines because kids. So at first I thought Opie was being unreasonable, but if he doesn't even have a publisher, then this is basically a hobby. The sensible financial thing would be for him to get a job and work on the writing in his spare time. But this is the way he wants it, so Opie's not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He feels emasculated? Apart from the fact that that's just an attempt at manipulation, if his masculinity is that fragile, he can fix it by getting a job. So to clarify, he wants to stay home, not work, and not take care of the baby. Essentially, he wants to contribute literally nothing to the household in terms of either money or effort. This is absurd. He is beyond entitled and selfish. You have to work, because nobody else is. If I were you, I'd be telling him I'll compromise by giving him two options. He stays home and takes care of the baby, or you hire a nanny and he can GTFO because he's dead weight at this point. Your father-in-law's right. This is what he signed up for if he didn't want a job. He has to pick one, work or childcare. He doesn't get to just say neither. This, yes. Being able to stay home and work on his writing is a huge luxury. And he seems absolutely not appreciative of this chance he has. I know a New York Times best-selling author who has a day job. He's written many books, but he had to keep working for years. He now keeps working because he enjoys it. That absolutely was not the case for a long time. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she is the sucky friend? I, 25 male, married my wife, 33 female this past winter. We have 2 kids together. 4 female and 18 months male. I work full-time, but my wife is a stay-at-home mom. The reason I mention this is that my wife has never had many friends. And by many, I mean she's had a max of 4 at any time in the years I've known her. The one friend she's always had, Kayla, 33 female, she's known for 20 years. She's 7 hours from us. Her other friends also have kids around the same age as our daughter. They are Cody, 28 female, and Casey, 35 female. They met as the kids have the same key worker at the daycare. Kayla was supposed to be my wife's maid of honor, but she got multiple trips to urgent care sick 2 weeks before the wedding. Eventually, we said it was best if Kayla skipped it. My wife was gutted not to have her best friend there, but had Cody step in. A couple of days ago, I heard my wife talking to Cody and Casey about how she hadn't heard from Kayla in months and Kayla doesn't check in. They were trashing her and talking about how when they all met up with her for my wife's dojo, like a Bucks night for women, and Kayla at my wife's hometown, Kayla had been boring, awkward, and a downer the whole time. They pointed out that Kayla was a sucky, self-interested piece of suck who didn't understand how hard it was to be a mother, and they'd all needed that night because she doesn't have kids yet, and that my wife was right to cut her the duck out when she didn't show to the wedding or apologize. I waited for Casey and Cody to leave before asking my wife what the heck she meant. My wife's response was to say that it was just girl talk, and that Cody was right anyway about everything she'd said. I was very quick to point out that before the others, Kayla was the only friend my wife had. She bent over backwards for my wife and my daughter, and would even drop whatever she was doing to drive down in a babysitting emergency or if she just had time. I reminded her that it wasn't practical for Kayla to take off work and drive 6+ hours for silly wedding tasks, and that she probably felt completely alienated in her own home in my wife's dojo because I know for a fact that the only thing my wife, Casey, and Cody have in common is their kids, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was all they talked about. She desperately wants to be liked by Casey and Cody just to have people around her, so I get it. I finished by pointing out how messed up it was for my wife to agree that Kayla doesn't understand because she's not a mother, when she was there through Kayla losing 3 babies, and told her that it's her own fault that Kayla doesn't want anything to do with her anymore because she is the sucky, self-centered friend, not Kayla. My wife didn't respond. She immediately burst into tears, packed a bag and left. Everyone is texting and calling me I'm the a-hole and that I need to apologize, but I think it was the reality check my wife needed. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Not one bit. Sorry, sometimes the truth isn't so nice. It does sound like your wife isn't being a good friend. Also, Kayla was in the hospital twice, but that qualifies as missing the wedding? Did she also not grovel enough and compensate with a gift 5 times her annual salary for being so thoughtless and selfish? Not the a-hole. Hopefully, one day your wife will realize the value of having married someone decent. Surprised he even married someone like that. They got pregnant when he was 20 and her nearly 30. Combined with a horrible attitude she has, sounds like she targeted someone young and easily manipulated. Unfortunately, not the a-hole. I think everyone is allowed to have a perspective, and I actually think you communicated respectfully. Your wife, on the other hand, seems to be the a-hole for leaving and then obviously trying to get others to harass you. Your wife sounds toxic, and unfortunately, if that's who she is, you might need to consider leaving her. It seems impossible for her to handle any sort of proper discussion, and this is only going to get worse with time. Not the a-hole. Sometimes I give my husband a reality check if I really don't agree with him. His response is to accuse me of never being on his side. I answer with, I'm always on your side. 100%. Just because I don't agree with you or I think you did a crappy thing doesn't mean I don't support you. You did the right thing according to your values. You thought it was important enough to say something. I agree with you, by the way. She didn't like it. That's okay. Here's something to think about. How would you react if she did it to you? I like that. I'm always on your side, 100%. Just because I don't agree with you or I think you did a crappy thing doesn't mean I don't support you. Maybe the OP should use this when he hopefully gets a chance to speak to his wife. He should also point out that he hopes she would do the same thing for him. Not the a-hole.
My 26 male ex 25 female locked me out of my bedroom, so I broke up with her. Now everyone says I'm overreacting. Help? Original post. So me and my ex dated for about 1.5 years now, and things were pretty easy going up until now. But I really need a little bit of help to see if I'm being reasonable. My ex-girlfriend and I got into a mild argument, basically surrounding our Halloween plans. She wanted to go out, I did not, and told her that she's more than welcome to go out. But going out into that many people would only stress me out, as I have agoraphobia. So, I'll be watching horror movies on the couch that night. She got mad at me for not letting her have input into what I do for Halloween, which I would understand if we were spending it together. But we don't have to anyway, so what's the issue? Well, after that, she keeps trying to get me to agree to go out. But I refuse because I would be entirely miserable the entire time. Finally, she screams at me that I'm on a couch tonight and slams my bedroom door behind her. Wouldn't let me into my own bedroom all night. My girlfriend does not live here. She spends the night, but she has her own space. I would consider doing what she did not just out of the question, but deeply disrespectful and toxic. So in the morning, I sat her down and explained that while the Halloween issue was blown out of hand, I was going to be ending the relationship because I did not feel respected anymore. She was nearly hysterical, asking if I was serious, that it isn't a big deal, and all kinds of other stuff I expected. What I wasn't expecting was my other friends agreeing, and saying that a girl dumping you on a couch is just part of having a girlfriend, so I'm just overreacting. My family's on my side. My dad even laughed when I told him the story. But basically, other than my dad, my brothers and my stepmom, everyone thinks it was too much. So I guess I'm asking for help recognizing if I did. I do know that I tend to get a little harsh when it comes to things I view as disrespectful, so I'm open to hearing opinions. Now for the top advice before reading the mini update. Saying that a girl dumping you on the couch is just part of having a girlfriend. No, it isn't. In my opinion, you did the right thing. I wouldn't put up with that kind of nonsense either. I always wonder why people accept and think it's normal when I read a post about a partner being exiled to the couch or guest room. OP, breaking up about not respecting your choices, mental health and space are all completely valid reasons to break up. She gave you plenty of reasons for breaking up to choose from. She also has not reflected on her actions. She hasn't apologized nor realized how her behavior affected you negatively. Yeah, I don't know. If you're mad at your partner and don't want to sleep together, you should go to another room yourself, not lock your partner out. Here is a thought. Why didn't you take her butt home to her own apartment? OP is a lot nicer than I would have been. He let her lock OP out of his own bedroom and only threw her out in the morning. The moment my not even live-in partner yells that I am on a couch and locks me out of my own bedroom, I'm telling him that we are done, and he has 15 minutes to grab his stuff and get the heck out of my house. Or I'm getting him removed from the property by authorities. If my partner has a problem, he can choose to sleep elsewhere, but he is not going to dictate where I sleep, especially not in my house where he doesn't even live. Your ex saw your agoraphobia as an excuse, not a mental health issue. To make it worse, she said you should have an input in what you do, but it didn't sound like you had an input in what you did. You bent over backwards, so her night wasn't ruined. She then made you sleep on the couch. She became hysterical when you broke up with her because you took the control away from her. You did the right thing. This kinda hurts, because this is how I see it. But I was hoping I was reading too much into her actions, assigning meanings that weren't actually there or something. And while I'm still angry about what happened, the hurt of everything has been creeping in. So thank you for the comment, truly. This made me realize maybe I'm not crazy. Haha. Other than bending over backwards, I tend to be pretty chill about plans and stuff, because I'm used to it being an issue. Most people don't want to go to a Tuesday movie matinee, so I won't have a panic attack. So I don't even pick up on that stuff. It's her trying to force me to go out. And also the door thing. The door thing really got me mad, which I hate because being angry makes me feel like a bad person. But like, that's my door. That is my bed. What do you mean I'm on a couch? I was so truly offended that it actually makes me laugh now, lol. No, being mistreated is not a normal part of having a girlfriend. Yeah, that's how I see it, especially considering it's my place. Lol, I don't know why, but the fact that she doesn't live here keeps coming back. Like, huh? I do have a bit of a pride issue, which makes it hard for me to see if I'm getting too big for my britches, as my dad says. Haha. I worry that I perceive a slight much worse than it is. I mean, I guess with that, and how often I see it happen to other guys, I started thinking maybe this is one of those times I don't see that I'm being irrational. Now for the mini update. I've considered calling her to talk things through to try to make the breakup go smoother, because she's been blowing up my phone. But even if I do, it's not going to be some blowout confrontation. At worst, it will be a lot of crying, probably mostly from me, which is why I don't want to do it. Also, because part of me is really hoping she will just chill out and stop messaging me. Other than that, I've been too busy putting up my Halloween decorations and making sure everything ready for trick-or-treaters to be really sad about my breakup. I know Halloween is forever away, but my nephew is 8. I'm his favorite uncle, and he loves Halloween. So I've made a game of having crazy decorations every year. So I've actually spent a fair amount of time in my yard, learning how to hide extension cords in grass, lol. He is gonna lose it when he sees everything. Next story. Ex-wife, female 36, shared online that I, male 36, left her because she couldn't have kids. Should I even say anything? We divorced 3 years ago. We were trying for kids for about a year, but to no avail. One day, out of nowhere, she drops on me that she doesn't want kids. I tried telling myself that maybe I don't want kids too, so I stayed to work in our relationship for another year and a half. Needless to say, I realized that not having children was not for me, and I definitely did want kids. When I told her this, she said that she still didn't want any kids. It was over after that. I am now in another relationship and engaged. My current partner and I are expecting, and she announced it on Instagram. She does have quite a big social media fan base, so the post did get some attention. I'm not really interested in the social media, that's her thing. I'll appear in her videos occasionally, but like I said, thing not mine. All was well, generally good responses. This was around 2 weeks ago. I went to a gathering with some friends on Saturday. As soon as I walk in, silence. These are mutual friends of my ex-wife and I. One of my actual friends pulled me aside and showed me something my ex-wife had said online and even attached a picture of us. What she said was so far from the truth. Think of it as a podcast-style video, which is not too long. She said that she was left because she was infertile. Then she started explaining how she feels like all the progress she made is set back to zero because I announced I'm having a baby. I mean, this is such a lie. She does have a low fertility rate, that part is not a lie, but I did not leave her because of that. I was very into exploring other options, but she did not want to and wanted to be a dad. We were incompatible at that point, that is why I filed for divorce. I prefer to keep all of this offline, so when I'm asking should I say anything, I'm asking if I should say anything directly to my ex-wife. I was thinking about 1, asking her why she would lie, and 2, asking her to tell the truth, which might not happen but might be worth a shot. Buddy, don't even worry about it. If she wants to tell lies, let her do it. You will keep your sanity by blocking her completely and focusing on your new baby. I don't even follow her. I might just tell any mutual friends that have an issue that this is not what happened. And if they don't want to believe it, then that's on them. Just tell them she isn't infertile. She didn't want to have kids. I did, so we divorced. Don't respond to her directly, as she wants attention and drama. Seeing you have moved on and no hope for her to get you back is what brought this on. Kill it with kindness too. Well, she's clearly going through something right now, so I want to respect that. I wish her all the best. Then drop it. Any of the mutual friends that automatically take her side is just your acquaintance and not a friend. Tell your friends her side if they ask or mention it. Other than that, live your best life by ignoring her. The mutual friends mainly consisted of the spouses of my actual friends. When I was married, my ex-wife and I were very close with 3 other couples. I'm best friends with 2 other guys, and their wives came to be really good friends with my wife. The other couple was originally friends with my wife, but they meshed really good into our group. So out of the 6 people in there, excluding myself and my ex-wife, I would say that I'm very close with 2 of the people, while the other ones are closer with my wife, or just neutral between the both of us. I would only bother setting the narrative straight to those that actually reach out to you for clarification. Those people are actually friends and concerned. Everyone else are just superficial friends and probably wouldn't believe you anyway. Not everyone that reaches out is a friend. Some people reach out for the gossip. I would be careful who I tell much of anything to, but my general rule of thumb is if they have my direct contact info and reach out to me that way, we can talk. If social media is the only way we chat, and not even in person, I just ignore it. Talk to 1 or 2 mutual friends about the truth. The grapevine will take care of the rest. I agree. I don't know why OP didn't just do that on a day. He already had the elephant in the room, so he had a perfect opportunity to address it. Last story. I, 26 female, am pregnant after a fertility struggle and being told I may never get pregnant. My husband, 42 male, just admitted to having an affair and getting someone else pregnant. Not sure what to do. My husband and I got married 3 years ago. When I was a teenager, I was told that due to medical complications, I may never be able to have children. But after 2 years of trying infertility treatments, I'm now halfway through my pregnancy with our miracle baby. Unfortunately, because of some complications, I had to cut back on my hours at work as it's very physical. My husband offered to pick up more hours to compensate, so he has been working a lot more in the past 2 months and coming home later. I couldn't see that anything was amiss. Things were the same as they've always been. He always brings home flowers, food, things for the baby, coffee. He's always sending me thoughtful and loving texts through the day, and the gaps where he was unreachable were explainable. But this morning, he sat me down and gave me news that rocked me. He told me he's been having an affair for the past 6 weeks, and that his affair partner just found out that she's pregnant. He says that if she decides to keep the baby, she's going to raise it by herself, and that they mutually agreed to end a relationship already. He wants to make things right. I don't know how things can ever be right again. He just wants to move on from what he is calling his transgression. How do I ever forgive him? How do you deal with the unthinkable? How do I learn to live with the idea that my child's sibling might be out there somewhere someday? Most importantly, how do I learn to move on like he wants me to? Now for the advice before reading the mini update. Personally, the baby would get my maiden name and I'd serve him with divorce papers and child support. This one. There's no coming back from this, especially after how he confessed and acted as if it would be just another business deal that's already done. Let's forget about that and move on. Get tested ASAP. He had unprotected with at least her. Right, the freaking audacity. This is why there's like 1,000 seasons of Snapped on TV. I told my husband repeatedly that if he ever got another woman pregnant, it would be murder. Not saying Opie should unalive her husband. I'm not a violent person, but phew. I don't know about you, but how would it be okay having a baby with a man who just abandoned one? I keep coming back to this. It sounds like she's on the fence about the pregnancy, which is ultimately 100% her choice. But the ease with which she's willing to take the stance of just forgetting the whole thing happened is hard for me. I'm more than halfway through my pregnancy, 23 weeks, so I'm in a different position. OP, keep in mind you're only getting his version of what they discussed. She could have literally told him that she's keeping the child, and you don't know that. But what you do know is that he is telling you to your face that he's going to abandon that child. But he can't just abandon that child if she comes after him for child support at any point. Then he's on the hook because they will order a DNA test. I should strongly suggest you speak to a lawyer and find out what your options are. He's lied to your face stone cold for at least 2 months if not longer, and you've never noticed it. So the question starts now. What else has he done? And what else is he hiding? Because if you forgive him going forward, then what happens when you find out that he didn't tell you the whole truth? Or she comes into the life that you two have rebuilt and wants him in the life of her child that they had together? I definitely consult a lawyer, especially about getting in your child support claim first. I've read here on Reddit that in some jurisdictions, the first claims get more, since it is based on a full income. And I definitely wouldn't just move on. I'd move out. The guy lied to you for weeks. He had no problem cheating on you. Who knows how many times he's done it before. He wouldn't have stopped or told you if she hadn't gotten pregnant. He endangered you and your child by having unprotected sex with other people. Ask your OBGYN to test you on your next visit. But now he has seriously impacted your family finances by having another child. And he just expects you to forgive and forget? Without putting in any of the work reconciliation usually entails? No, and ignore him and his flowers and loving texts. You deserve better, OP. It sounds like he has no remorse, and the only reason the affair ended was because she got pregnant. How could you possibly trust men like him? He sounds like he is minimizing his affair. If she keeps the baby and they still work together, I highly doubt he will completely cut things off. She'll be in his life from now on. Are you okay with that? Now for the mini update. I have an OB appointment for unrelated medical reasons tomorrow, at which I will make sure to request extensive testing. I have plans to meet with a lawyer on Monday. I'm talking to my sister to see if I can stay with her. My relationships with much of my family are fractious, but I have a pretty positive relationship with her. I will not be seeking other options other than having my baby, due to being pretty far along and having been told in the past I would not conceive. Regardless of what my husband has done, I love my child.